So, let's talk about Ash Wednesday, but maybe not in the way you're used to. See, it can be an answer to this nagging feeling a lot of us have. And to really get into it, we're going to start with a pretty shocking line from a very old book.
Yeah, you heard that right. Useless, useless, completely useless. That's literally how the book of Ecclesiastes kicks off. I mean, wow, it's this raw gut punch of a feeling, isn't it? It's that sense of running and running on a treadmill but not actually getting anywhere. You're doing all the things you're supposed to be doing, but there's just this emptiness.
And, that really gets to the heart of what we're digging into today. It's this huge question. Why? Why do so many of us feel so empty, even when our lives are, by all accounts, full? What's going on in that gap between what we have and how we feel?
Okay, so to start to unpack that, we've got to look at the world around us. This constant, what you might call, the great chase for satisfaction. I mean, just think about it for a second. Our entire culture is basically a 24/7 sales pitch for satisfaction, right? Buy this new truck, grab this quick meal, you need this phone upgrade. It's all promising to fill that hole inside. But we all know how that story goes. The feeling lasts for what? A minute? And then the emptiness rushes right back in, sometimes even stronger than before. It's like we're always thirsty.
There's actually a cool term for this from the world of movies. It's called the MacGuffin. You've totally seen this. It's the glowing briefcase, the secret plans. It's the thing everyone in the movie is desperately chasing. But here's the kicker. It doesn't really matter what it is. Its only job is to keep the story moving. And, well, the real danger is when we start treating our own faith like a MacGuffin. We start chasing after the rituals, thinking they're the prize, the thing that's going to finally give us satisfaction. But that's not what they're for.
And that's exactly where Ash Wednesday comes into the picture. It's not one more thing to add to the chase. No, it's the total opposite. It's an invitation to just stop, to breathe, to slow everything down.
So this invitation kicks off the season of Lent, this 40-day period of reflection. And that number, 40, it's a big deal. It's not random. It pops up all over the Bible in these major stories of transformation. You've got Moses up on the mountain for 40 days, Elijah making his journey, and of course, Jesus in the wilderness for 40 days. It's a chunk of time that's intentionally set apart to change direction.
So how do you actually do that? Well, traditionally, it comes down to these three pillars. First, there's prayer. And this isn't about making a wish list for God. It's about trying to align our own will with something way bigger than ourselves. Then there's fasting. And no, it's not really about the chocolate. It's about intentionally removing the noise, the distractions that keep us from listening. And finally, almsgiving, which is really just this simple but kind of radical idea of putting someone else's needs ahead of our own.
Okay, so if we start down this path, it leads us to something pretty tough, a deeper challenge. And that's letting go of something we are all basically addicted to, that constant need for satisfaction. And maybe even harder, the need to be right all the time. Most of us are familiar with the Beatitudes from the Gospel of Matthew. They're comforting. Blessed are the meek, and so on. But have you ever really read Luke's version? Whoa, it is like a slap in the face. It's not just blessed are you who are poor. He follows it up with woe to you who are rich. It just completely flips everything our culture tells us on its head. It basically says, hey, maybe all that comfort and satisfaction you have, maybe that's actually a warning sign, a giant spiritual blind spot. And that brings us to maybe the hardest challenge of all. Try this one on for size. Giving up your right to be right, even when you know you're right. I mean, why on earth would anyone do that? Well, because real connection with other people, authentic community, is so much more valuable than winning an argument. That feeling of certainty, it can actually build a wall around us. A wall that keeps us from feeling empathy, from really truly connecting with someone else.
So if we let go of that certainty, what's on the other side? What do we gain? Well, there's this incredible example of what we gain when we look at the empathy of Jesus. So picture this scene. Jesus shows up and his good friend Lazarus is dead. Now, Jesus knows how this story ends. He knows he's about to raise him from the dead. He has the ultimate power, the ultimate certainty to fix this entire situation. But that's not the first thing he does. He doesn't just walk in with the solution. The first thing he does is he weeps. Just 2 words. Jesus wept. It's the shortest verse in the entire Bible, and honestly, it might just be the most profound. In that moment, he chose community over certainty. He chose to enter into the grief of Mary and everyone else there.
Instead of just standing back and fixing it, he sat with them in their pain. And that shows us something so important. Real empathy isn't about having all the answers. It's about being willing to be present in the mess, to weep with those who are weeping.
And this powerful idea of being present, of choosing connection, it brings us to our last big thought for today. And it's a challenging one. It's the idea that maybe hell isn't some place we go when we die. Maybe it's a reality that we can create for ourselves, right here, right now. Jesus tells this story, this parable, about a rich man and a beggar named Lazarus. And the setup is simple. Lazarus is sick and poor, and he suffers every single day right outside the gate of this wealthy guy. The rich man sees him every day. He has everything he needs to help, but he just doesn't. He walks right by.
So, in the story, after they both die, we're told there's this great chasm fixed between them in the afterlife. But what if that chasm wasn't just created after they died? What if the chasm was the distance the rich man created in his own life? That gap he put between his own comfort and Lazarus' suffering, right there at his gate. What if that is hell?
Hell begins the second we choose our own comfort over someone else's pain. It begins every single time we look away, every time we dehumanize someone just so we don't have to act, every time we choose to be separate instead of standing in solidarity.
And this is what brings us all the way back to Ash Wednesday, back to the ashes. The phrase that's spoken is, "Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return." And that's not meant to be scary. It's the great equalizer. It's the one thing that connects every single one of us, our shared fragile humanity. The rich man, Lazarus, you, me, we're all made of the same stuff. We are all dust.
So here's where we land. That chasm from the story, it's not just a story. It exists right now. It's the space between us and the person we mindlessly scroll past on our phones. It's the distance between us and the neighbor we don't know. It's the suffering in the world that we choose to tune out. So the real question that Ash Wednesday leaves us with isn't about what happens later. It's about what happens now. That chasm is here. How are we going to close it?